Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Roosevelt Park, Greenhills West, San Juan, Metro Manila, Philippines, Part 2. My dear wife Alice visited from the Philippines last December, and she brought a large number of photographs from that were taken at Roosevelt Park. And so I decided to make another video about, this is part 2. I don't know if I said part 1. Anyway, so she brought all these photographs, and I thought, let me make another video about Roosevelt Park, because it was such a pleasant experience, and the best experience of my life. So since we have all these photographs, we're going to make a video where I'll talk about the experience and the people, the wonderful people there. From 1999 to 2010, and it was basically a group of kids who started coming, and a little community that developed, kids where we played baseball with tennis balls early on, and then a lot of basketball in the latter years, and we at the two courts, and we used to play this touch taya. We did some other things, a little soccer, and a lot of fellowship. A lot of just good times of visiting, joking around, good, clean, outdoor fun, and I just had the time of my life. I just enjoyed it so much, and it was just wonderful. Because I moved to the Philippines in 1991, and this is 8 years later, and I'd had a tough time living in Manila with the congested living conditions. So, and I didn't like to be indoors all the time, in which I'd been this indoor life. So it was great for me to get outside. And our son Tim, it was the perfect age. He turned 7 that year, 1999. So I thought I'll talk about the people and so forth and what we did. Billy Kopelman actually was the first person that we met in the park. Tim and I had actually went back in 1996 a few times when he was younger. We actually played a little American football with some kids. Remember, Tim was running around. Anyway, we'd snap the play. He'd just run around. He was too young to really understand football. So, and he didn't. I'd say, Tim, do you want to go to this park? And he didn't really want to go. But actually, after Tim met Billy, remember Billy and his parents, they lived out just by the park on the other side of this wall, which was like the outfield wall for our baseball games. And Billy, it was I think a Sunday, and Tim and I went, and Billy and his father were sitting on a couple swings there, and they looked kind of bored. And anyway, I remember his father is American, so I said I started talking to him, and then I think Tim and Billy started talking, and then they struck up a friend. Little kids can make friends pretty quick, become friends quickly, so they did. And after that, Tim wanted to go all the time. He had this friend, and then of course this community developed. And Billy has the same birthday as me, and he's a nice kid. He has a very strong personality, and sometimes can be, that people like that can have conflict, imposing their will on others. But basically a very good-hearted person. And there was this the funny incident. He was actually had Indian descent. I think his father was his real father was from India. I think it was half Filipino, half Indian, and so he apparently, and kind of dark-skinned. People in India are I think darker than Filipinos. So apparently kids had called him a Bombay, which in the Philippines means you're from India. It's to take off on the city of Bombay. And one day Billy was upset, and he was saying, I know I'm a Bombay. Everybody knows it. I'm a Bombay. And they were sitting over by the swings. Apparently Tim was there, and Cholo Dominguez said, "You're not a Bombay. You're a people." So that became one of these famous lines and memories at the park. Billy Kopelman, he moved to the U.S. He joined the U.S. Marines. I've lost touch with him. I really love to communicate with Billy Kopelman because I really care. He's a good guy, and really, care about him a lot. God bless Billy Kopelman. Okay, the Dominguez family. They had 4 kids. The oldest actually wasn't much a part of this, but she came once. Zinky. They got her younger siblings got her to take a swing in a baseball game. But it was basically, and she's going to be a doctor. I think she is a doctor already. Two of the sisters became doctors. Amazing, wonderful. But Daffy Dominguez was the one who started coming, the oldest, who really came a lot. And Daffy's a real nice guy, one of the nicest people you'll meet. Very peaceful, easygoing, and pleasant person. And yeah, we just really enjoyed his company. I remember he was getting into cell phones for a while. Of course, a lot of people are, but. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, Daffy was not a super athlete, and he joined the LaSalle baseball team, as did our son Tim and Cholo, and he had trouble because he was, I think, with older kids. The way it worked out based on his birth, and I remember every summer thinking like, okay, Daffy, we'll give you a lot of batting practice, and you'll develop your swing, and But because I was so determined these kids would develop in baseball. Very nice guy, Daffy Domingos. Yeah, it's real nice to communicate with him on the kids. A lot of these kids who are now adults I'm friends with on Facebook. So nice to communicate with them. And the youngest, Cholo Dominguez or Pacholo Dominguez, was very athletic. He was short on the shorter side, big athlete, and he was the one who pursued baseball the longest. He played college baseball for LaSalle. And was a real good player. Remember, he could hit, and he became a catcher, the tough position. And Cholo would, early on he'd come to me. He wanted extra batting practice, so I would provide that for him, and because he was interested. And yeah, Cholo was a real, very outgoing and good fellow. He would help me actually. When we used to play, eventually we had to play over at the pelota court and baseball, and sometimes we'd have tennis balls going in the tennis court, hit from the pelota court, and it was locked. We couldn't get in, and Cholo, if he was there, he'd climb the fence and retrieve these tennis balls. And then later wouldn't be around, and I think, okay, I ended up doing it, even though it was tough, and I would use a pole to climb the fence, and it was tough. And I get to the top and jump in and come, and then come back. It was kind of an ordeal. And one time I was kind of joking around at the top of the fence. It's kind of a long drop. It was a fairly high fence, so it's not that easy. Especially I was older, and I was joking around and I acting like a monkey. And then I think my shoe caught on the fence when I was trying to jump down, and I ended up landing on my back end and put out my hands for support. And then I felt like I broke my wrist. I was in severe pain. And I thought, oh my God, I know I'm in severe. I can't. How am I going to get out of here? But unfortunately, this worker, who was this guy named Efren, I believe, he was passing by. He had the key. He let me out. So that was very fortuitous. Cholo Dominguez. Anyway, Cholo was a good guy. Tremendous, very athletic. And actually, Jazzle, I think, was after Daffy in age. She was older than Cholo. There were a number of girls who would come. Jazzle is going to be a doctor. Amazing. Early on, there was a number of girls who would come, and they were, they played baseball early on before they felt it was, they were starting to get cultural pressure not to play because they're girls. But they had a nice group of girls, and Jazzle was one of them. She was a very peaceful, pleasant person, and nice to have her part of our group. Enjoyed her company. Patricia Chua lived across the street. She was on the older side of these kids, and she became enthusiastic. She played a lot, and she had actually, I think, had played with Daffy, Cholo, and Daffy, Jazzle, and Cholo when they were younger at the park. And Patricia would. There was a guy she liked named Thomas. We called him Frank Thomas, and she used to call him a good citizen because he was kind of. She wanted to be friends with him. She was joking around. Real nice girl. Lost track with Patricia. Haven't been able to find her on Facebook. I think she moved to the U.S. Real nice girl. Sam De La Pena, he lived in the park, and he came a lot. Again, he was an older guy, and so he was sort of a leader, and we called him Sammy Sosa or Sammy Soda. Sam De La Pena. Yeah, he was real enthusiastic about it all, playing baseball and basketball and all the baseball card trading the kids got into. And Sam, it's been nice to communicate with him on Facebook as well. His cousin Madel used to come a lot, and Madel was a very nice girl, very peaceful and kind. And she played baseball with us, and eventually she went into study to be a nurse, but then she moved into something else, office work. I have become friends with her on Facebook. Really nice to connect with these people. Now, backing up a little bit, I forgot to mention Joji Dominguez, the mother of Zinke, Daffy, Jazzle, and Chola Dominguez. She was very supportive of these kids coming to the park, and eventually she was very helpful because this is a private subdivision. Anybody can't go in. Early on, the security guards let me and Tim in because of the so-called quote-unquote colonial mentality since I was an American, but eventually we needed friends. She was like our sponsor that okay, they'll let us in. We had friends in the village, in the subdivision. And we also needed her sponsorship to get a car sticker, so our car could enter the park. Joji Dominguez, real nice person, and she was very supportive of all this Roosevelt Park community of kids playing in the park. And her mother, Mona Velisno, who was in the top government position, I believe, the head of the Secretary of Education for a number of presidents, and a nice person. Yeah, she was also supportive of what we were doing. I would see her from time to time when I went over to the house, the Dominguez home. Okay, now there were a couple, and another family was the Coe. Well, yeah, the Coe is Zig Coe, Ish Coe, two brother and sister, and then the cousins Aaron Coe and Stephen Guan. And Zig was a real nice guy. He was a big Los Angeles Lakers fan, and Kobe Bryant fan. So during these years, it would be Philippine summer would be from the middle of March to early June, and the NBA playoffs would start in April. And Filipinos are big big NBA fans, so we'd be playing basketball, talking, the NBA playoffs, and of course the Lakers. This was their glory years, especially getting into this time around 19. Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, early 2000s, with Kobe Bryant and Shaq. And anyways, Zig was a nice fellow. He played a lot. He was pretty athletic and very enthusiastic, good-hearted person. And I remember one time this ball, in the basketball court, there was this a metal support structure. It was painted silver, and one time a ball hit that. And I said, oh, it's out of bounds. And I said, it hit the silver thing. And Zig laughed about that. Yeah, he was, these kids, they were my friends, these kids. I was an adult, I was like 40 years in my 40s, starting 2000. So, it was wonderful being with friends with all these kids. And Zig Co, real good fella. And yeah, and he's a hard. I know he's a very hard-working young man now, and doing well in his career. His sister Ishko, she was part of this group of girls, and yeah, nice girl, real nice girl. I ended up having a collection of Pocahontas cards from the movie, the Disney animated movie, and at one point I thought, I need to give this to somebody. So I remember Dexter said, how do you play with Pocahontas cards? And I ended up giving them to Ish. Nice girl, very, very kind, and peaceful and easygoing. And part of the group of girls, their cousin Aaron Co. Yeah, oh my gosh, Aaron's such a nice guy, very peaceful and kind, and we called him Aaron McKee because of the Philadelphia Sixers player. I think, it was a Lakers-Sixers finals in 2000, I believe, and so Aaron, he took that name, Aaron McKee, after a player for the Sixers. And Aaron was a very easygoing fellow. He would very kind, and he smiled a lot and nice, really good. And again, it's so nice to be friends with these people on Facebook, my friends from the park. And then Stephen Lim, I thought his last name was Lim Guan. I think his middle name is Lim. Stephen Guan. He was from the province, and nice fellow. He was real athletic, and he would spend the summer, I think, in Manila. And one time we were playing touch taya, and they had put in this heavy plastic play park kind of thing that had a structure, and Stephen went on top of it. I thought, I don't think that's a good idea. Nice fella, good basketball player, and he's a good guy, Stephen. And then, of course, and then the mother of Zig and Ish, Ruby Coe, very supportive of what we were doing there, of this community. And she would bring her kids, because they lived some distance away. She would drive them there, and she was very supportive. And she started bringing other kids of her friends during the summer, so they could get out of the house and get have some good, clean fun. So Ruby Coe was a real nice person and very supportive of all this. Okay, then there were a group of cousins that lived nearby and would walk in. And first, one of them was Alvin Trinidad. And Alvin's a nice guy, real peaceful and funny guy. And his favorite NBA team was the Indiana Pacers, and his favorite player was Reggie Miller. And Alvin really used to come a lot, and he was close to his cousin Bonju, and one time he said, "Did Bonju came?" And that became another line that was repeated. And Alvin became a New York Yankees fan. I guess he was watching a Yankee game one time, and Carl Pavano was pitching for the Yankees and didn't do well. And then Alvin came to the park and said, "Carl Pavano suck," and we made jokes out of that, repeated that line. So anyway, Alvin played a lot of basketball. Oh, he played baseball early on, so he was coming a lot, which was wonderful to see him, Alvin Trinidad. He's been working in these cruise ships going all over the world, and I believe he's part of the cooking activities on those ships. The older brother, Alan, came a few times, but I guess he felt he was too old, that he was not a part of this group. So he did come, nice fella. It was nice to meet Alan Trinidad. And then the younger brother, Aaron Trinidad. Aaron was kind of mischievous. He was really fun-loving, but he'd lose his temper. Yeah, and it was funny because sometimes he would throw rocks at other kids, and I said, "Aaron, you can't do that. You can't." I mean, my gosh, kids could get hit in the eye. And I said, "Aaron, would you like it if people threw rocks at you?" And then Aaron said, "No, but I like to throw rocks at them." And one time I remember we were playing. He lost his temper. We were playing a basketball game. He started throwing all this stuff on the court, other sports equipment, other balls that I had brought. Anyway, he was just a kid. That's part of growing up. Or one time he'd lose his temper. Well, I've certainly lost my temper. That's for sure, and it's a pretty widespread problem people have. And we were playing these war games, and used to go to the tennis court. And we'd have pass out. We'd have two teams on each side of the tennis court, and pass out tennis balls that we'd throw at each other. And I remember one time, a ball came in and bounced. It hit him right in the face. Oh, he got so mad about that. That was a fun activity we had with those war games. You might throw a tennis ball up high, and then they'd look at that, and then you'd come in and you'd start hitting them, and while they're looking at the ball, you'd throw a tennis ball at them. Aaron Trinidad, and now another group of these cousins. Those were, Alvin, Aaron, and Alan were all brothers, or Alan, Alvin, and Aaron. And then there was Bonju Reyes was a cousin, and who lived in this compound. He actually studied in our school. Bonju was a very strong-spirited, good fella, and very athletic as well. I remember Marty Mendoza called him the fastest effer in the park because he could really, take the ball, basketball, really move the ball down the court and score. And in baseball, he picked up when bases loaded. If you hit a home run, it's a grand slam. I used to call. So if a guy was batting with the bases loaded, I'd say, "Oh, it's a grand slam opportunity." And Bonju picked up on that, and if he was batting, he'd say it, and with the bases full, he'd say that, it's a grand slam opportunity. Good fella, Bonju Reyes. Bonju's sister, Anna, or Chrissy, she would come, and she was a peaceful person, very kind, and she didn't play a lot. I think she would come to sort of socialize with the other girls who would come. There was a group of girls, so that was nice for them to have that friendship. Nice person, Anna or Chrissy Reyes. Another cousin was Kevin Reyes, and Kevin was also on the mischievous side. I know he enjoyed we started lighting fires. Sounds terrible, but I remember in Boy Scouts, used to enjoy campfires. We cooked in Boy Scouts, so I thought, oh, these kids, as long I would make sure it was safe. I think some of the adults didn't like what we were doing. Over at the pelota court, it was all paved, and there were these walls, so I thought it was safe. And these kids would, they'd get like palm fronds, and they'd build a fire, and Kevin enjoyed that. He went into, also another guy went into cooking, and there was a stray cat that used to come by named, we called Popeye because it had a problem with its eye that I fed sardines. And I think another one called Marcia. I know Kevin enjoyed that. It's so nice to communicate with. It's been so nice to communicate with Kevin on Facebook. Dexter Togel was another of these cousins, and Dexter would. There was a cartoon, Dexter's Laboratory, and when Dexter would come, I started saying this the intro to the cartoon to joke around. I'd say, "In Dexter's laboratory, he's the smartest boy you've ever seen, but Dee Dee blows his experiments to smithereens in Dexter's lab." And Dexter, he would take it. I mean, probably got tired of it, but he would tolerate my repeating that same same thing, that same monologue about that cartoon. And he was the guy who was. I remember he said, "How do you play with Pocahontas cards?" Because unlike something like magic cards, good guy. He's gone into martial arts. Real good fella. He's big smile and very personable guy. His sister Monique, who actually moved to Europe, she married I think a guy from Denmark. I'm not sure, somewhere in Europe, and real nice person. Monique was very peaceful. Again, I think she would come mostly to socialize with the other girls who were coming, and get out of the house. Real nice person, Monique Togel. Then the Uhiko brothers, who lived up the street on Adams Street, Joe, Mark, and Sean. Joe was the oldest, and Joe played LaSalle baseball with Tim. And I remember a game where I think Joe was playing center, a fly ball, and Joe was coming in to make the catch, and it hit him. It actually, I think, hit him in the face and the mouth, but he caught it. It bounced off his face and his mouth and into his glove. So I think it may have been the third out. He ran off the field. He had a big smile on his face, and there was blood pouring out of his nose. Good fellow. And I used to joke with Joe. When he would come, I'd say, "Yo, Joe, Uhiko." He was very tolerant of that as well, Joe Uhiko. The second brother was Mark Uhiko. Was very pleasant, kind, peaceful guy. He was a real good friend. He enjoyed socializing, talking. He was not big into sports. And eventually there was a group of younger kids that I was playing with over in the field or the grassy area. We seemed to play these imagination games, or because they were younger, and Mark enjoyed that, and we'd play. So he was a nice guy. I enjoyed talking with him, and Mark, good guy, real good guy. And again, I'm glad to be friends with him on Facebook as well. Their younger brother, Sean Uhiko, he was very spirited, typical, the youngest. I'm also a youngest child, and Sean was very. I remember actually when they first started bringing him when he was very, very young. He was too young actually to get into the baseball and basketball, but he played these imaginary games out in the field. And he used to say they had these slides, and Sean used to say at the top of the slides, there'd be 4 slides that would come together, and there would be an area at the top where you could actually sit. And he called it the sanctum, and he'd say, "To the sanctum," and then we would go up there to this area and visit. There was actually a girl named Naomi, and I remember Mark used to mention something about Naomi. She brought French fries one time, and that became a repeated line or a memory. And they had these also at the park. They had these seesaws, where this thing is going up. It's like a flat or a thing. There's 2 seats and a pole, and when one is up, the other is down, and it can go up and down. And if as what we used to do is if a kid was kind of on the light side, or you get 2 kids on one side, and one of the kids would be up in the air, and then he's stuck there. He can't do anything. And we'd say, "Oh, we'll bring you your dinner," because we were just kidding. And then eventually let the guy down, hopefully not too hard. So the Uhiko brothers up on Adams Street, real fine family. Now there were there were some adults who came. Tom Uy, who was about my age. He had some health trouble, and he used to comb his legs. He had this skin trouble. He played a lot of basketball. He's a good player. Tom was a good basketball player, and sometimes he would call. He was competitive, wanted to win, and he was he tended to want. Everybody wants to win, so Tom Uy, good guy, and he had a good shot. He could score, and he was a good player. Tom Uy. God bless him. Hope he's okay, because I know he had some tough health trouble. Charles and Carl Huenfeld, father and son. Charles and Carl. Charles was an adult. I think he must have been my age or maybe a little older. They would come and play one-on-one, those two, and they would bicker. I remember Carl would accuse his father of cheating, and it was kind of funny. Or a foul. He'd say, "Oh, that's a foul." Anyway, they actually joined our group and would play with us, and then I visited with Charles a lot. We would talk. We're adults, so we would talk, and real good guy, Charles and father and son, Charles and Carl Huenfeld. Nico DeCini would come. Nico was actually played LaSalle baseball and was on this Elam baseball team that Tim was on. Real nice fellow. His family moved to Canada, I think in the Vancouver area, and Nico's going to become a Canadian Mountie, the Canadian Mounted Police. Very peaceful kind of guy. Really, really good guy. I remember when LaSalle baseball, they played in the National Capital Region baseball tournament when these kids were, like 12 years old, and they got to the title game but lost that game, and all week it was this baseball tournament, and then one day I remember, Nico said, my socks are wet. He was kind of complaining, and then that became a memorable line, and then I remember, one time he said to me, he says, "Pete, you're a real friend." I thought that made me happy. I used to bring sandwiches for those LaSalle kids for their baseball games so they could have something to eat. There was a guy named R.M. who used to come. He was a little bit older, but still, relatively young. R.M. was a tremendous basketball player. He was real good, and also a good guy. A couple brothers who used to come, Gerald and Gilbert, don't know their last name. Yeah, nice fellas. They would play one-on-one, or they'd join our games, and very peaceful, easygoing fellows. A guy named J.R. used to come, who was a young adult, and he would come and shoot. He would play, he'd just shoot sometimes on his own, or he would join in games. And I remember one time he said, we were playing, and he said, "Golly gee whiz," something like that. And I said, "Oh, wow, I've never actually heard anyone say that." Or, no, he said, "Aw, shucks," which is sort of an old expression. But I thought, I've only read that. Never actually heard anybody say it. J.R., he used to go to Guam a lot on business. Royce Yu used to come who actually studied at Ressalist, our school. Royce was a very strong spirit and a good guy, and he was a real leader, and could throw his weight around, which happens with people with strong personalities. Royce developed a real good a three-point shot. Royce Yu, good guy. Marty Mendoza, strong personality. Marty was coming later on. I don't think he played much basketball growing up, but he developed physically, became very big and strong. So he would play in these games, and kind of his basketball skills weren't the greatest, but he was so physically intimidating that if anybody, I used to call it boxing basketball when Marty would play, because he would physically intimidate anyone who might try to guard him closely. Another guy named Ralph Tuazon, who died very tragically in a car accident. Ralph would come, and he didn't play sports, but he just would come to socialize and visit with his friends there. Very peaceful fellow. God bless Ralph Tuazon. Now, actually from starting in 2006, I started going there every day of the year, except for Saturdays, because I didn't teach for a while, and then I got to a lot of kids from Xavier. The word came out that there was a guy at the park with a couple basketballs and drinking water, and they would come. So I don't know. There are all kinds of boys who used to come. A guy named James, I used to call Jimmy, and this other guy used to say, "Mark at the park, and it's not yet dark." A lot of Xavier guys would come after school and play. So over the years, yeah, we started early off playing a lot of baseball with tennis balls, and then for many years it was basketball in the two courts, the outdoor court and indoor court. We played some soccer early on, touch taya or tag, which I think is a wonderful game. Those war games over by the in the tennis court. There was a lot of fun with trading baseball cards and basketball cards, and for a while they were into Pokemon cards and then Magic cards. And we made our video recently called "Memorable Movie Scenes." And when I was in the routine of telling Tim, okay, we're going to go home at 7:00. Because in summer, it seems like a lot of the kids would stay up late, and I didn't have that tradition. I like to go to bed earlier. So 7:00, I'd say, all right. And I'd say, as Scarlett O'Hara always says, or always said in the movie Gone with the Wind, tomorrow is another day. In other words, we'd come back the next day. And I would quote Jar Jar Binks from Star Wars Episode 1. We's going home. Anyway, we actually got recent video, movie clips of those two quotes from. It was kind of funny. So anyway, let's see what else here. I've forgotten the two courts. I used to sweep the outdoor court of the debris and water. The kids had scooters for a while. Then they had bicycles. I was scared to death when one time I saw them riding their scooters down Adams Street, which slopes down toward Roosevelt Street, and they crossed the street into the park without even looking. And I told them, I said, okay, you guys, listen, safety is number one. And then Tim said, yeah, and danger's number two. Early on, there was the old clubhouse, and then during these years, they built the new clubhouse, which unfortunately took up a fairly large part of the park, and so everything's changed. Yeah, and the covered basketball court is now air conditioned, and the outdoor court is now covered. That's too bad because I used to love being at the sitting, and they had these stone benches there that I would come and enjoy. I loved, even if often the indoor court was locked, but I preferred the outdoor court. I like to have the sky over my head rather than a ceiling. That's the thing I was fed up. That's why one of the reasons I loved going to the park was getting outside. I moved to the Philippines in 1991, and I was fed up I didn't enjoy indoor living. I don't think it's healthy, so I loved getting outside. And so now, they've kind of turned it into an indoor, more of an indoor place because, the outdoor court is now covered. So, but it's good for rainy season. At least you can still play. Often, times we couldn't play. They had the old village shop. They used to sell stuff. They actually used to sell their pandesal sandwiches, like with cheese or ham and cheese, and then they used to sell some soup, type of soup. And then the new village shop was put in. This guy Raffy became a friend of mine who was working there. They'd sell soft drinks and so forth and potato chips. So this was primarily during the summer, and then there was rainy season would be kind of problematic, and then so it was an awful lot of fun, and I just we had a tremendous. It was just a wonderful experience, the best time of my life, and I'll never forget. It's such a wonderful memory. So to all of my friends from Roosevelt Park years, this is a tough time with the coronavirus epidemic. I wish you all well, and I just want you to know, I've said it before, I just want to let you know again, how much it all meant to me, and those years together when you were kids, and you've all grown up, and it was the best experience of my life. I just can't tell you how much I enjoyed it, and I can't imagine anything better than what we had, and nothing lasts forever. It's over. Of course, you aren't kids anymore. You have to work. You can't spend the summers playing at Roosevelt Park. And but anyway, it's such a treasured memory for me. And it's important to have happy memories. And for me, it's just a wonderful. I love if I'm not feeling well and for whatever reason, I could think about that. And certainly those are very happy thoughts, happy memories, and memories are good things to have, good memories, and I wish you all well, and you're all of you are forever embedded in my heart, and I wish you all well as you move through life. And you'll always be important to me, and you'll always be my very dear friends. And I just want you to know how much I enjoyed it, and how much fun it was. And I moved back to the U.S. 2013. So it's been more than 6 years, coming about 6.5 years, and I haven't seen you guys. And hopefully I'll come back to the Philippines sometime, and we can have a nice visit, get together. I'd love to do that. I'd love to see all of you, because I miss you, and I miss that time. But like I said, that's how life is. Things change, and as wonderful as that was, and it was actually for me very painful when it did come to an end. And I hung on to it as long as I could. But, you guys all grew up. So what are you going to do? And that's a life changes. So anyway, I really wish you well, and God bless you. And, we'll get together. And, I wish you well in your personal lives. You're important to me. And I'm hoping for the best for all of you in your work, in your family life, and so forth. So God bless you. And I love you, and all the very best. So that concludes today's presentation. Dear viewer, you might consider checking out our website, Adventures in History with Peter J. Ray at peterjray.com. So far, we've made 633 history videos in 7 areas: world history, American history, book reviews, poetic tours, Cleveland baseball, family history, and autobiography. This was an autobiography history video today. You might consider, excuse me, you might consider, there's a donate button. You might consider making a donation on the website so we can continue making these videos. You also might consider checking out our podcast, Adventures in History. If you live in Metro Manila, Philippines, and are looking for a high school, you might consider Res Celeste Educational Center, which is located in San Juan, Metro Manila. At Res Celeste, we specialize in helping young people who have had difficulty in the larger traditional high schools, and the website is resceleste.education. RESALEST. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care. And I'll see you next time